What do you got, Coach? 3 things that all coaches need.
Who would you put on your Mount Rushmore of coaches?
New York or the Aces? Definitely going with the Aces.
All right, 4th down. Who has the tougher job, coaches or officials? If you could have any superpower, what would it be and why? For Texas, it's different.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This is the Coaches Co-op, a masterclass in athletic leadership where coaches connect, grow, and share the grind. I'm your host, Michael Prejean, better known as Coach P. Each week, I'm teaming up with coaches across the country to break down the wins, the lessons, and everything in between. This week, I'm teaming up with Coach Melissa Walker, an educator, program builder, and volleyball coach who has led multiple programs to their most successful seasons in school history, often in Title I communities where belief matters just as much as resources. She's a mentor to new coaches, the founder of the Coaches Collective, and someone deeply committed to faith, family, and building something that lasts. I need you to welcome with your real hands and with your virtual hands, Coach Melissa Walker. Coach Walker, welcome to the co-op. How are you?
Thank you. I'm doing well. I'm glad to be here.
Good. All right. So here's what we're going to do. This is how we kick off. This segment is called Talk That Talk. I want you to shine a light on what's going right inside your program, across athletics at Seguin, and in your community. What are you proud of right now? Talk that talk.
Okay. Well, again, I'm at Juan Seguin High School. We are the only 5A high school currently in Arlington ISD. And so with that comes its own struggles, but I love the diversity of our coaching staff, our community, our kids. We have numerous multi-sport athletes, and in a athletic environment where we are encouraging kids to only choose one sport, to go one direction, even though we know the importance of being a multi-sport athlete. We have so many of our kids that are delving into sports they've played for years, sports they've never played before. So I'm really proud of that. When it comes to our campus and how our coaches encourage our kids to try different things and support other programs, specifically in volleyball, it's my 2nd year there as the head coach. I am proud of the growth of our players. I'm proud of the buy-in that I've experienced in my 2 years here, not just from our kids, from our staff, from our community, from our middle schools, from our elementary PE teachers. They fully support what we're trying to rebuild here, what we're trying to build, the foundation. And so the wins come. They don't come when you want them, as fast as you want them, but our kids are winning in the classroom, 100% pass rate in our program. Our kids are winning in the community. We have a very small program, about 30 kids, and we log 500 or so community service hours a year. And so I'm proud of how our kids step up and they serve their community. I'm proud of how they're selfless and they're learning how to be leaders and understanding what that looks like. I'm most proud of the fact that our kids, our young girls, are learning how to advocate for themselves, that their voice matters, that their opinions matter, and what they have to say matters. So it's not always about the wins and losses, and I know that we'll get into that later on today, but what makes me the most proud about my program that we're building is just the passion that's been established for the sport, but the passion that our girls have to just be great people and to serve their community, their fellow students, the other sports, and they do it so willingly and with so much grace and so much happiness. And so I'm going to say that's what I'm most proud of when it comes to the volleyball program at Seguin.
That's good. Over 500 community service hours.
Yeah.
That's growth. That's growth that you don't necessarily see on the scoreboard. That's good stuff right there, Coach Walker. So coaching is a calling.
Yeah.
We know this. So my very first question for you is, when did the coaching bug bite you? When did you know that you were called to be a coach?
So I would say definitely later on in life. I'm a very firm believer in see it, be it. I did not see a lot of coaches that looked like me growing up. I grew up in a small town, Greenville, Texas. And I had amazing coaches. Please don't get me wrong. I'm not saying I didn't have great coaches. I did. They were supportive. They pushed me. They encouraged me. And I am a big part of who I am is because of them. But the moment I realized that I wanted to coach, I was a freshman going into my freshman year of college. I had a scholarship at Collin County Community College to play volleyball. They don't even have a volleyball program anymore. And our coach, Coach Zelda Smith, made us do volleyball camps. It was not enjoyable, if I'm being completely honest. It was 5 days. It was the longest thing ever. And there was this little girl in my group, and she was there like to give her mom a break. You know, that's how camps are sometimes. Like, I'm going to drop you off for a few hours and I have some time. And she didn't listen. She was just running around. She was not interested in volleyball at all. And on Friday was our mini scrimmage tournament that we did. And she might have been 10, maybe 11. And she had not been able to do any drill, anything that we did all week. We're scrimmaging. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to throw her in on the front row. We're not getting 3 touches anyway. It doesn't matter. Of course, they serve the ball over, underhand, of course. And they get a pass. The girl at the net, like, just bumps it crazy high. And she goes in full approach, jumps off the ground, the best backswing. I'm sure it wasn't that great, but in my mind now, looking back, it's amazing. And she hits the ball and she puts it on the floor. She turns and she looks at me and she just starts screaming. And she was so excited. Like, I feel like that was the moment where I was like, this is what I want to do. The light bulb moment, the moment where all of her not paying attention, like all of the work, all of the constant, like telling her, like, focus, and she got it, but it wasn't, it is the skill. I'm excited that she got the skill. It was the sparkle that she had, that she did something that she wasn't able to do 5 days before. And I refer back to that often when it happens now, but I think at 18 or 19 years old, that's when I really was like, I could do this. Like, the goosebumps that I had, and I have them now. Like, when every time I tell the story, it kind of brings me back to, like, that's what you're doing this for. Like, you want the sparkle and the light bulb to go off. And so that was it. That was the moment at Plano campus, Collin County. Thanks, Coach Smith, but Coach Smith was also the first Black female coach I ever had. And I think that had a big part to do with it, is I saw someone who looked like me doing the job, and it made me feel like I could do the job. My high school track coach told me in high school every year that I was going to be a coach. And I thought he was crazy.
You thought,
She never even said it to me. But years later, probably 5 years ago, a lady was talking to me about it, and she asked me the same question. When did you know? And I was talking to her about it, and she said, what did your college volleyball coach look like? And I said, what do you mean? She's like, well, baby, what color was she? And I said, she was Black, mid-40s. And she said, you never realized what God had placed on your life because you'd never seen someone walking in the steps that God wanted you to walk in. And so even though you were a track kid growing up, you didn't understand why you got that volleyball scholarship. God needed you to see it. And so that was the moment. I mean, it's so clear. It's the clearest memory I have from college, probably.
That's a coach. That is a great story. And it highlights the points. It highlights 2 things, I believe. Number 1, representation matters. Mm-hmm. And then number 2, timing is everything.
Yeah.
Timing is everything.
Absolutely.
Okay. So you are a program builder, specifically a program builder at Title I low income schools. So what's the first thing you're looking for when you walk into a program that needs belief?
I think it's just if you have kids that want to be there, I think that's the number one thing. You can teach skill. That's why we coach, right? I can teach you the ins and outs. I can sit down and break down film with you. But if you don't want to be there, if you aren't willing to put in the extra time, the extra work, the open gyms, and to do a little bit more, you have to think bigger than yourself. And so I really feel like coming into any program that I've been in, one of the first things I do is I just kind of have conversations with kids and ask them, like, why do you play volleyball? Why did you pick this sport? Do you play anything else? Do you have any siblings? Like, what do you do outside of sports? And you start having conversations with them and you realize like kids want a place to belong where they feel like they're doing something productive. And a lot of times we attach that to winning. And so when you go in, if they're wanting something bigger, if they want to be a part of something, I think the foundation of building a program is giving the kids something to be a part of. It's not about winning. My kids right now are loving the community service. Anytime someone is emailing me, I send out something like, hey, we need timers at the swim meet. Coach, I'll do it. I'll do it. I'll do it. I'll do it. Hey, we're going to do this. Coach, I'll do it. That's what they're a part of. Are we winning as much as we want to win on the volleyball side? No, but we're winning in a bunch of different avenues. So do the kids want to put in the work necessary to be good? I think that's just the first thing, because we know you have to have talent to win. That's what they say. I think you have to have some heart and some grit, because we can beat some talent when you just have some kids that are going to go to battle with you.
Yeah. And I think that heart and grit are fortified when the kids are even more connected to their community.
Agreed.
Right? Because you talked about, you know, that it has to be something outside themselves. So like, hey, I'm not just playing for myself. I'm playing for my community because I'm connected to it. I'm attached to it. Right? That's big. That's big time. So when you find kids who are, you know, maybe they're on the fence, right? Maybe they're on the fence. This new coach is here. You know, I don't know. What's that like? What's that conversation like with that kid who's on the fence? Or what's that process like in helping that kid find out if they actually want to be there and be part of the program and do the community service and do the things to build the skill and do the things that are necessary to be a successful, right? And of course, that subjective volleyball player.
I believe it's having genuine conversations with them. Don't come in and be like, this is who I am. This is what I've accomplished. This is what, like where I'm going to take our program. More of I'm here to bring out the absolute best in you. What is it that you want to achieve? What legacy do you want to start and build and be known for here? You know, it's easy to say, well, we're just not any good. You know, we don't win. Like you say, that's just subjective. But what does it look like in the big picture? When you leave here, what do you want kids to say about you in the program? And so when I start kind of dealing with the girls who, well, I don't know if I want to play, or I didn't play last year, or I think I might come out next year, the first thing I ask them is why? Why do you want to come out and play for us? You know, and that's why I like volleyball and my friends are there and this and that. And I'm just like, how dedicated are you going to be to thinking outside of yourself, to showing up every day? We don't miss practices, you know, in those moments. And then honestly telling them there's no room for excuses. You know, when kids say, well, I'm kind of on the fence, I don't know. You know, I'm not going to talk you into it, because then I'm going to have to talk you into practice every day. And when we're building, it's tough. When we're out in the community and it's cold or it's really hot or the kids that are yelling are driving you crazy, right? I don't want to talk you into it. I'm not going to drag you through it. I'm not going to knock on your door and walk into your bedroom and force you to put on your volleyball stuff. Like, if you're on the fence, then the answer is probably no. I have never begged a kid to play. I try to create a program where kids want to play. And so I think it's more about walking it as opposed to talking it, and word of mouth, the other kids go and saying, hey, you got to come play. You want to do this. We got a new coach. This is what she's da 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 da. And then that's what gets, those kids excited. But if I have a conversation with you and you're not in, I tell the kids, you got to get on the bus or you got to wait for another one, because we're going where we're going.
Yeah.
And so if you're going to sit on the bus, then you've got to be willing to do what it takes to get to where we're trying to go. If not, it's okay. There's another bus coming that could be for you, and hop on that bus. But this bus comes at a price. If you're not willing to pay the price, or if you're not sure, don't get on the bus.
That's good. That's good. And we're not going to love you any less if you choose another bus. You know, Coach, that is a great message when it comes to creating a program where kids want to play. I want to talk about Title I just a little bit. So you've intentionally chosen to build your career in Title I schools. And for those who may watch or listen to this later, Title I schools are low-income schools. They get federal funding. Of course, there are strings attached to that funding. There are things that have to be in place to continue to receive that funding. So again, an intentional decision. So what are the factors that played into making that decision in your journey? Why Title I schools?
I think the main reason is I grew up, parents didn't go to college, struggled financially, and we had a lot of coaches that kind of helped us out. My sister and I are 14 months apart, so we played everything together. And so that also means that there's always 2 bills that come with that. There's always 2 camp fees. There's always 2 shoe fees and things like that. When I went to college in Collin County, it's in Plano. We all know they're just more advantage when it comes. They have an advantage when it comes to economics. I played with a lot of girls that had played club that I'd never heard of before. I played with girls that had skills and volleyball IQ that I did not have. And it wasn't because I had bad coaches. It was more demographics. Where I grew up, it wasn't a thing. And so as I played through college and as I decided that I was going to get into coaching, as I started looking for jobs, I realized that I would go and interview at these schools, even middle schools that fed into these massive programs. And I would be sitting there waiting to interview, and there would be like 10 people there for like this freshman volleyball job. And I went and interviewed at this 3A school in Wichita Falls, Hershey. And I was 24, no official coaching experience. And they gave me this job as the head coach. Looking back, I was like, I don't know what y'all were thinking. You must have been out of your mind. What I realized was that no one else wanted the job. I had the best time coaching at Hershey. The kids were just amazing. The parents they fully embraced me. They were absolutely amazing. And we would go and play these schools, and I would notice the huge difference between not only their players, but also coaches. I'm on the sideline coaching my tail off, sweating, and their coaches are just standing there. They have to say very little. They have to do very little. And as I would go and start coaching in different places and coaching against different people, I noticed that the low income schools, their coaches were a lot like me, having to coach every aspect of the game. And the schools where their kids had the financial ability to have private lessons and go to club, their coaches weren't doing that. And so I was like, these kids are amazing. These kids have tons of potential. These kids are super athletic. These kids just have never had a volleyball coach, someone who cared about the sport and cared about them enough to take the time and teach it to them. And I think that it just kind of grew from there. And every time I would look for a job, I wanted to look for a job in a school that was Title I or low income, mostly minority. That was important to me. I wanted the kids to see that Black women do coach volleyball, because 20 years ago, I had one coach that I coached against that was a minority. Now, almost every other team we play has a minority coach, but it goes back to the see it, be it. Also, because you don't have the financial means doesn't mean you don't deserve a volleyball coach who is knowledgeable, who is passionate, who is going to push you to be better and not just rely on your athletic ability, and who is going to do everything they can to try to even the playing field. You go to some school that's won state 5 times and you post their head job, you're going to have 100 people apply for it. You look at a low income school where resources are limited, where the kids can't afford to play outside, and you post their head coaching job, and you might have 2 people apply. And of those 2 people, they might not have ever even coached volleyball before. Our kids in low income communities deserve better. They need to be able to know that people are knowledgeable and passionate and pouring into them and are willing to put in the time and the work to try and even the playing field. Will it ever be even? No, not until the structure of sports and how what volleyball has turned into changes. And I don't think it will change, but I think that if more coaches were willing to take on Title I programs and actually coach and put in the work, we could close the gap and we could have more Title I programs competing past the first round of playoffs in the state of Texas.
Yeah, Coach, that's just real. Everything that you said is just real. We also see that in the classroom. I remember having a conversation with someone who she works at the district level now. And I remember we were both teachers at a school who was kind of in and out of Title I, right? They got to a point where they decided they didn't want those strings attached anymore, right? And this particular teacher had been asked to go from teaching a junior level class to a freshman level class.
Ooh. Yeah.
And was not having it.
Yes.
And I remember the conversation that I was having with this particular teacher was like, hey, but that's where like we really need you. Like if we're gonna like really turn this thing around and make this thing better, like that's where we really need you. So it takes some sacrifice, right? You're gonna have to they're gonna have to be coaches who are okay with some sacrifice. Yeah, you can probably go here and do this, right? But you're really needed here. Like your impact would be multiplied here. So that's really, really good stuff, you know, and you didn't say it, but I'm gonna say it. Some people just don't want to work, Coach. Some people just don't want to work that hard. Some people don't want to work that hard.
It is definitely different. And I will say this, everyone has their challenges. When you go to the school where every kid plays club and that's the requirement to make the team, they have their own set of challenges. You know, I have friends that coach in those schools, and we kind of talk about different things and we bounce ideas off of each other. And there's just some things I'm like, that would never happen in my school. And then I say some things and she's like, that would never, you know, so their set of challenges are different than the challenges that we face for me, like on the South Side, right? It's a different set of challenges. But I think that one set of challenges does require you to sacrifice and work a little more to be able to compete.
Yeah. And I worked in both of those challenges, right? And both situations are challenging.
Yes.
But I will say that the level of fulfillment, not in the same ballpark, right? Achieved more court-wise at one stop than I did the other. And the other was a lot harder with the challenges, right? Like oh my God, right? Didn't go as far, didn't win as much, but the relationships, the fulfillment, to the point where when I left that place, it hurt my soul. It hurt my heart. You know, it was time to go, but it really just hurt. All right, Coach, check this out. If you had to describe your coaching philosophy in one sentence, but you can't use the word culture or family, what would it be? One sentence, your philosophy in
Okay.
one sentence, but you can't use the word culture or family. Go.
Sacrifice for the betterment of everyone.
Very good. That was good. Listen, everybody, we are in the Coaches Co-op. I have the head volleyball coach, the first volleyball coach that we've had here in the Coaches Co-op. Okay.
I thought I was.
You are. And listen, when I tell you I've been after volleyball coaches to get in here, but you are the first one to answer the call. Listen, make sure that you subscribe to Podcast with Prejean, the Coaches Co-op, right here in the back. You can find it on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Check in with us. Get weekly interviews with coaching legends, masters in athletic leadership, and people development experts like Coach Melissa Walker, who we have here. All right. So historic success, best seasons in school history at some of these programs. What was the hardest part of sustaining that success once it shows up? So the belief shows up, the success follows. What's the hardest part about sustaining that?
Denying the pull to be comfortable. You know, sometimes when you're building and you're talking about the mountaintop and this is where we're going, this is the goal, this is what we're building for. And you have those kids that have been in your program for 2 or 3 or 4 years, and you have that season that's where you've won the most games, or you make playoffs for the first time in 40 years. Keeping those kids focused and understanding that this is not the mountaintop, this is the first step to the mountaintop. And so, you know, in this day and age where we're social media and we're like, oh, I made it. And we can make bad situations look really great, right? Mm-hmm. It's getting those kids to be humble and understand, like, all the work you put in on the front end wasn't hard work. Now it's hard work, right? So now is where we really have to buckle in and stay focused and push through. So I think it's just like denying the comfort of in the moment, and understanding that if you want to see more success, if you want to see more wins and all of the good stuff that comes with, you know, turning your program around, then now the work really starts. And I think that's difficult for kids.
That is really good. One of my favorite quotes that I came across earlier this year is that the top of one mountain is the bottom of the next, you know. Yes. So once you reach the top of one, you reach the next one. And what I thought about as I was listening to you is like, okay, we made it to base camp 1. Mm-hmm. You know, like this is not the summit. This is just base camp 1.
Exactly.
Went to watch a boys game the other night to support a couple of guys that I know. Huge, big win for them, right? Big win. You know, and everybody's excited after the game. The kids are really happy, you know, and we're just talking, and coach is like, yeah, I got to go remind them after the game that we haven't won anything. All we've won is 2 games. You know, that's absolutely nothing.
Right.
So, all right. Let's see. I lost my next question here. Here we go. Okay. Let's talk about, I want to talk about this. I wrote it on here. Let's talk about the Coaches Collective.
Okay.
So you served as a girls coordinator, mentored the young coaches. What, as we kind of bridge into the Coaches Collective, what leadership muscle do you think most coaches develop too late?
I would say empathy.
Dive into that.
Yeah, we stay hyper focused on things. I think all coaches are like that. We all have something that we are really good at, right? It's I'm really good at offense. I'm really good at defense, in the weight room, conditioning, agility, plyos. And so we can sometimes tend to hyper focus on things. I am completely guilty of this, especially starting out as a head coach so young, going in and having a competitor mindset and not understanding why my kids didn't have a competitor mindset, or going in and not understanding why my kids couldn't do X, Y, and Z. And I mean, looking back, my first probably 5 to 7 years, I lacked empathy in so many situations that now, as I deal with coaches and students and teachers and parents, just kind of taking a beat and giving them time to explain and giving myself time to process or ask more questions. So I definitely think that empathy is something we let the sport, we let the competitiveness take us away from the fact that one, we're human being first, that we are going to make mistakes, that we are not perfect. And then sometimes we expect more of our kids than we are willing to do as coaches. And so that too kind of leads to the empathy of you not understanding why kids or fellow coaches or whoever are doing certain things. You know, we have to take some time. And I learned that way too late. And so as I am talking to young coaches and dealing with coaches that are on my staff or in the building with me, you know, and they get frustrated about some things, I always try to give them another perspective that they haven't thought about, that they haven't been through, that they haven't experienced. And a lot of times they'll stop being frustrated. And so just taking a second, taking a breath, asking more questions, or asking people for more information before you form an opinion or get riled up or take it out on a kid. Sometimes we just need a little bit of time.
Oftentimes they're still kids.
Yes.
Right? They're still kids. They're not adults. They're not 40-year-olds in kid bodies. They're going through stuff. They're dealing with stuff. And oftentimes they don't know how to deal with the things that they're dealing with. Right? So oftentimes we have to step back. And I think for all coaches, right? All coaches make that mistake, right? Like you said, we get hyper focused on things, and sometimes we miss some of the things that may be going on because we may be here. So all coaches are guilty of it. So we have to be intentional about making sure that, you know, we just connect with our kids, right? Coach, check this out. Aspiring athletic administrator. Actually, let me say this before I forget. When we're off camera, I want to talk to you a little bit more about the Coaches Collective and how we can collaborate on some things. Okay. All right. So just in case I forget, right, on the wrap up. So, all right. So aspiring athletic administrator, and you're going to be a great one. So timing is everything. So when the opportunity opens the door, I'll be clapping for you in spirit because I probably won't be on the other side of that door.
Thank you.
So what's one thing that coaches wish administrators understood better?
That we are not the enforcers on campus. And I know that it's a double-edged sword, right? We coaches have the ability to build relationships with some kids that teachers might struggle with. We spend more time with some of those kids. We, form these relationships with the community. Coaches are loud. Coaches have whistles. But a lot of times coaches end up being the enforcers. And when we have to enforce outside of the athletic environment, outside of our gym, outside of the court, the field, for issues inside of the building that should be handled by teachers or administrators, it's not fair. In my gym, if a girl is late, if a girl is being disrespectful, if a girl, whatever, like we handle that, we deal with it. But if a kid is in your classroom and they aren't doing their work, they're not doing their assignments, I will still handle that in the court. But a lot of times it's like, I'm going to call that coach to this class, or I'm going to do this, or and I'm like, we become those enforcers when a lot of times that we're the default and the communication should be home. So a lot of times I will pick up the phone, or I will walk a kid out after practice to their car and be like, hey, mama, so today in English class, little Sally had an issue with X, Y, and Z. And so Miss So-and-so had to call me. We handled it in the gym. The mom is like, I didn't get a call. I didn't get an email. I didn't know that she was this. So we have become the default disciplinarian for our athletes in all aspects. And I know it takes a village, but we shouldn't be the judge, the jury, and the executioner in that village. So, I've gotten to the point now that I've have some experience where when a teacher sends me something, I respond back with an email. Have you reached out to her parent? She is very involved. She does this, or whoever, please reach out to them. I will have a conversation with them. But I try not to attach a punishment anymore like I used to, without having that teacher reach out to the parent. And then I have a conversation with the kid. Again, it goes back to empathy, right? Because if a student is amazing for me and in your English class, they're awful, there's something going on. So maybe it's a conversation I need to have with that kid. But that's what I wish administrators knew. I mean, we want to be helpful. We want to be there. But a lot of times it does kind of turn into, oh, well, coaches, y'all can do this. Oh, coaches, y'all round up those. And I'm like, hey, we don't always want to be the bad guy.
Right. And what happens is, I'm not going to say what happens is, what can happen is coaches can start to develop resentment, right? Because here's the truth, ma'am, sir, I need you to control your class.
Yes.
I need you to build your classroom management. Ma'am, sir, I need you to call home because we're building community here. So now the coach is involved, the teacher is involved, the parent is involved. We're all on the same page.
Exactly.
And Sally is going to get it together because Sally knows that we're all in communication and we're all on the same page. Home is on the same page. Coach is on the same page. My teacher's on the same page. So now we just helped that kid by all being on the same page in instilling discipline, because kids don't know how to articulate it, but they want discipline. Yes. And this is why you're going to be an excellent athletic administrator, because you understand that, and you're going to be able to teach young coaches, but also share that information with the younger coach. Hey, listen, remember, you're not the enforcer. So if you encounter this situation with a teacher, this is how you handle that. That's an important skill that coaches need to have, right? And that's why we're going to talk about the Coaches Collective. All right, Coach, if a coach is burnt out and questioning, should I stay or should I go? What truth do they need to hear that is not just encouragement?
I would say the best piece of advice I got when I was considering leaving my very first head coaching job came from our athletic director, Kenny Catney. And he said, Coach, you got to take care of home team. And so I tell people that all the time. If it's coaches on my staff that have a family issue or burnout or tired, you got to take care of home team, and home team is you. And we talk about all the time that you can't pour from an empty cup, but this is a profession that encourages you to pour from an empty cup quite often. And so we tell people all the time, take care of your mental health and do this, but we don't show them how to do that. We don't give them tools to do that. And we truly don't encourage them consistently to do it. So I always try to tell people that, I deal with young coaches pretty regularly. In volleyball, we don't typically get veteran knowledgeable coaches. So we might get coaches that aren't experienced or don't know the game. But as this wave of older coaches are leaving that have dedicated 30 plus years to this profession, we're starting to get in this new class of coaches that are super knowledgeable, that know the game, that know the sport, but they don't look at coaching like us old heads look at coaching, right? They don't believe in burning it from the candle from one end to the next. And so when they start to have people question their worth or their work ethic, I remind them that your job is to take care of home team first. So if you aren't taking care of your spouse, your kids, your home, and yourself, you cannot do this job well. And I know that goes against a lot of people and what they have shown you. But if you want to have longevity in this job, that is a job of purpose and a job of passion, then you're going to have to learn how to take care of you. And it means being able to turn your phone off, turn your sports notifications off. Let your parents know that, hey, your emergency with your child is not my emergency with your child. Set boundaries, have parameters, and don't deviate from that, right? Have some non-negotiables and stick to them. And a lot of times we're afraid to tell people no. I don't want it. If no is going to protect home team, then no is the answer. And if the person sitting across the desk from you asking you to do it truly cares about you in this profession, then they will respect that.
Coach, that was a gold mine. That was a diamond mine. That was more than a gold mine. That was a diamond mine. There was so many gems in there. And you are absolutely correct. We are often asked to pour from empty cups in this profession. But before we started recording, I told you it took me 2.5 months to catch up on my rest.
Yes.
We're not expected to tell people no. Right? We're not expected. We're expected to be on demand all the time.
You're not a team player if you say no.
Right. And if you understand office politics and things like that, if you're told you're not a team player, that's like a death sentence. That's like a death sentence for your career growth. And the thing is, you gotta, like you said, you gotta take care of home first. All right. This is not one of my questions that was scripted, but I have to ask.
Okay.
How do we get more women into the profession? How do we get more moms, women who want families? How do we get them in the profession, but how do we keep them?
Yeah, I think the question is, how do we keep them? I think there are a lot of young women entering coaching. I think that once they decide to get married or create families is when they leave. I think there's a lot of avenues that go with that. Every year I have coaches or athletic directors that will call me and be like, hey, I need a volleyball coach. Like, do you have a recommendation? 10 years ago, I could give them names. Today, I had someone ask me last week, hey, we need a volleyball coach. And I'm like, yeah, I'm coming up blank. Like, I can't really give you a lot. All the coaching friends I had that I started with, none of them coach anymore. I'm the only one.
Yeah.
A lot of that is because you're asking me to pour from an empty cup. We know the demands of coaching and teaching, not just coaching, right? Coaches are teachers and they have to coach. And then you got to go home and be a parent, right? And so as a woman, you have this thing called the mental load that people that aren't women don't understand. And so think about, you just lost a basketball game, you come home and you can't turn your mind off, right? You start thinking about what you got to do in practice tomorrow and X, Y, and Z. That is what being a wife and a mom is all day, every day. And then you add coaching to that, right? My kids have dentists, they have doctor. I've got to make dinner. We have groceries. I've got to make school. I've got to add money to their lunch account. What are they going to wear? Now they have pictures. We got to schedule haircuts. You have all these things. And then I'm still worried about my outside that isn't doing her approach correctly, or she keeps hitting to the block. She can't read this. Now I need this. And then I have my class and I have those kids and this kid's falling behind and this test score shows this. Now I have to readjust. So you start adding all of that and women are just like, it's not worth it. Plus the expectation is that I'm here even if my kids have something. So now you start asking a mom to choose between being somewhere for other people's kids and missing what her kids are doing. And I think the message of having a balance, understanding, and communicating to women that I see you as a wife, I see you as a mother, or maybe not a wife. I don't, maybe you're just a mother, whatever it is you choose. I see you. We understand and respect that is your number one job. Whatever you need, we're going to help you do that. My administrator now, if I'm like, hey, my kid's nurse called, go, like, we'll figure it out. Yeah. And I don't really, we have staff development and my kids don't have school that day, hey, bring them into staff development. They can sit over there and and so having and being open about it, being open about the fact that you understand that they're a mother, you love that they're a mother. Like, what do you need? How can I help you? Mm-hmm. Also forming a community with other coaches that are moms. We have a little community on my campus of coaches that are moms. And I take my 2 kids and the softball coach's 2 kids to school. Like, we work together and we call it like mom life, auntie duties. We do all these things together. And so having that community, but the community it is slowly going away. I had someone tell me not too long ago that maybe I was not cut out for this job, insinuating that because I was a mother that, and I was having a conversation about my kids being the priority no matter what. And they told me, well, maybe you're not cut out for this.
Wow.
You know, I have coaches over there that are dads. I said, you have coaches over there that are dads that also have wives at home. I said, and I'm going to be honest, because when it comes to this topic, I am truly passionate about it. Sports was created by men for men, right? And as women have begun to come into our own space in sports and athletics, it is time for people to understand what women need in sports, right? We are way behind on that. And so when you have comments that are like that, I feel like a lot of times that discourages people. It motivated me. Sir, I do what they do. And then whatever their wives are doing at home, I do that too. I'm a superhero. And talking to female coaches and letting them know, like, we know you're a superhero. We know you have a lot on your plate. But I feel like the more you make that environment family friendly, all the women that I see that are coaching, and I see their kids running onto the gym floor when they get done with the game, like their kids know they're welcome there, and you have to advertise that. You have to show the community that family is important. And then you have to walk the walk. Don't just talk about how family is important. You have to walk the walk. You have to support women when they need to go and pick up their babies and not be like, well, we really needed you here for practice. Like, them kids will be okay. Like, my baby needed me more.
Yeah, that's important. Coach Kelly Carruthers is watching on Instagram. She says,
she's on my thing today for my mentor and influences. She's on there.
Okay. So, super coach, phenomenal wife and mom. Coach Carruthers says she does not know how you wear all the hats. Coach Kelly Carruthers, thank you for tapping in with us today. All right, I got to do my little commercial here, Coach. We'll be back in just a second.
We'll get back to the conversation in a second, but here at the Coaches Co-op, we're all about building championship level systems on and off the court. This episode is brought to you by The Path for Coaches, because iron sharpens iron and real growth happens when coaches support coaches. If you're looking to level up your team culture, fine-tune your playbook, or just stay motivated through the grind, check out The Path for Coaches. You can find The Path for Coaches at Amazon.com, or you can send me a direct message on IG at podcast_with_Prejean. Unlock the power of mentoring. Discover ways to be a good mentor and find good mentors with The Path for Coaches, Volume 1, Mentoring.
All right. Welcome back to the Coaches Co-op, the go-to podcast for coaches looking to elevate their leadership, culture building, and team success. We are in the game with Coach Melissa Walker of Juan Seguin High School, 5A school in Arlington ISD. Okay, Coach, what's the hardest thing about the job that nobody knows?
In general?
In general, or specific. It's up to you.
Okay. I believe in coaching in general, the hardest thing, and you touched on it earlier, it's walking away from the kids at a school that you've built really good relationships with. And even if they're graduating, I don't think people understand how attached you get to the student athletes that you have. There are days when I spend more time with the kids in my program than I do with my kids, and they're with me more than they're at home. Right. And so that it's hard. It's hard when they transfer. It's hard when they move. It's hard when they graduate. I think it's harder when you choose to leave, because they always feel like you're leaving them and they don't see the big picture. So I feel like that's probably the hardest thing is leaving the kids at a campus where you've poured so much in, where, you've built these amazing relationships with their parents and them. You've seen them grow so much, you kind of feel like you're leaving like one of your kids behind. And so I don't think people fully prepare you for almost the loss that you have. Like, there's a moment of like grieving where you feel like maybe you made a mistake, or, you could have done some things differently. It's a lot of reflection, but that's probably one of the most difficult things I've experienced.
Definitely a grieving process. It is
Mhm.
definitely a grieving process. And that's something that I've learned, and we just kind of have to kind of go there. Okay, so if you had to build a Mount Rushmore of your biggest influences or mentors, who's on your Mount Rushmore?
Okay, volleyball, I'm going to say Russ Rose was the women's volleyball coach at Penn State for 20 years. My first or second year in coaching, I went to a clinic that he was at, and he talked about the standard in your program is the standard in your program, and you don't let anyone change that. And so he would say, I'd sit in this number 2 kid in the nation's house, and they'd be like, well, we heard that you have to do this. And he's like, yeah, that's what we do. And they're like, well, we don't like that. And he's like, okay, well then Penn State's not for you. And I was like, man, like you're turning on the number 2 kid. And he was like, as great of a volleyball kid as that would have been, adding her into a system that we already had built and that works would have been a detriment to the system. So the standard is the standard. What you're going to do and what your beliefs are in your program, you can't allow people to come in that don't believe that. So volleyball, I'm going to say him. Basketball, I'm going to say Dawn Staley. I love how she is just unapologetically Dawn Staley. And she encourages her players to be themselves. She doesn't try to fit them into what's going to sell, what's marketable. She just wants them to be who they are. And she encourages that. And so you see her personality, but I feel like her players have these big, diverse personalities. And so I love that she is just who she is. She's strict. She talks a little bit of trash to her players. And I feel that, sarcasm is always there. For football, I'm going to go back to high school. Marvin Sedberry. He was the high school football coach and the athletic director at Greenville High School, and I was there. I feel like he showed me professionalism at its best. I mean, this was a guy who only coached football, but I distinctly remember him in the hallways, in the cafeteria, in a suit every day. Just the epitome of being classy and no holds barred. Like when I was in high school, you gave licks, and my man gave licks. Like the kids knew we are not going to misbehave or do all of these things. And just watching how disciplined he was in his program, just watching how he kind of walked around and people would be like, oh, it's coach, just the respect that everyone gave him. And so for football, I'm going to give it to him. Like, I don't even watch football like that, but he's instilled a lot of things in me as a coach that I strive to be. And then I'm going to go with track. I'm going to go Beverly Humphrey, Lancaster High School, I think maybe 13 state championships. I ran against Coach Humphrey when I was in high school, and the Lancaster girls kept us from state so many times. But I had the privilege of coaching for Coach Humphrey, coaching under Coach Humphrey as a head coach at Lancaster for a couple of years. We butted heads because we both have strong personalities. But I tell people all the time, I have never seen a coach get so much out of their kids in a practice, ever. And so just watching how she could get kids to buy in and literally run until they couldn't walk for her is, man, it's just admirable. I've never seen anything like, I don't think I ever will see anything like it, which is why she has 13 state championships. And she built this program, and she was a volleyball and basketball coach at one point. But yeah, I mean, if I had to just look, I tried to pick from different, maybe Coach Pop from San Antonio. Like, I don't know how you don't, I love that he advocates. He speaks his mind. He uses his platform to speak up against injustices. And he's not afraid when people say, just shut up and coach basketball. If it's wrong, he's going to say it's wrong. And I think that we need more people like that, especially in our profession, especially at that level and the exposure that he has and the respect that he has. So I would add him on there too. I don't know how many people are on Mount Rushmore, but I gave you 5.
Well, it's your Mount Rushmore, so it doesn't matter.
Okay, well, if there's only 4, I'm going to carve another one.
Yeah, so you can put whoever you want to put on.
Okay.
Okay, so what's the easiest thing about the job nobody really knows?
Man, that you would think it's falling in love with the kids, and I think that's important, but the relationship that I've built with coaches, I didn't think that it would be so easy. I mean, I tell them all the time, we started out as strangers, then we were coworkers, then we were friends. We're family. Like last night, we have an annual Grinchmas at my sister's house. And I look up and it's like 2 coaches from this school that I was at, 2 coaches from this school that I was at, 2 coaches from this school that I was at. And there's all these women from all these different schools that coach these different sports, and they just become my sisters, you know, and they call on me, they check on me, they're at my baby shower, at my wedding. And just no one tells you, like, you just fall in love with these people and they become your family. And when you walk away, they're still your family, you know? And so that's the easiest part. It's just, you just build these relationships with people and you just can't imagine life without those people now.
Okay. So who's got the harder job, coaches or officials?
Coaches. I mean,
very easily
because, well, I mean, I'm not trying to say officials don't have a hard job, Tasso, just back. Okay. But I'm going to say coaches because we're 360, right? It's the student, it's the athlete, it's the mental, it's the psychological, it's the physical, it's the home life, it's the are you eating, it's the are you sleeping, it's the breaking up with your boyfriend or girlfriend. It's all of those things. We have all of those things. So game day for us is almost like a breath of fresh air, you know, like it's kind of where we can a little bit focus on what we're doing. Officials, you show up and you get to officiate a game, you run out of the gym when you're done, and you don't have to ever see those kids or deal with anything that they have to deal with every day. You know, that loss or that win could make or break a kid's confidence, right? Could send them home to an environment where it's nothing but negative or, you know, and so I'm always going to say coaches. You know, I do think officials have a hard job, but coaches have a hard calling. And so it doesn't end. So officials can go home and forget about the game. When you're a coach, you don't go home and forget about the game. You're going to film, you're going to scout, you're going to make a practice plan, you're going to lose sleep. So one vote for the coaches.
Very true. Very, very true. Okay. If you could be anything other than a coach, what would you be?
Athletic admin. I mean, I can't imagine doing anything outside of sports. It is ingrained in who I am, the lessons that you learn. So I think it would have to be something in the athletic realm, or maybe like a sports agent, not for professional sports though, more of like, I had this idea, NIL is coming. It's coming.
It's coming. That's right.
But having the knowledge as a sport agent to help districts walk athletes through contracts and NIL, what it looks like, what this means for your future, financial planning, how do you, invest and save and set yourself up. So athletic admin or something along those paths where helping athletes and their families navigate this new sports era that we're going into. Yeah.
So Coach, let's pivot here. Let's do something a little more lighthearted. Play a game with me.
Okay.
Before we play this game, though, it has come to my attention that Bowie, you took Bowie to the playoffs for the first time in over 30 years.
Yes.
Right. That is a huge accomplishment. But going all the way back to the beginning of this interview where you talked about being connected to the community, I also found out that you donated 100 Thanksgiving meals to the community. Yeah. So here's what we're gonna do here. This is what we're gonna do here.
I love it.
Yeah. So I had to give you a round of applause for that because people need to know that. Thank you, Coach Carruthers, for letting us know.
I knew it was Coach Carruthers.
Yeah. She was like, she's not going to let you know, but know this. Okay, here we go. It's game time, okay? It's game time. So it's 21 questions. I break them up into groups of 7. We're going to go either or, agree, disagree, and we're going to end with word association. Okay, so let's have a little fun here. Here we go. Either or. Practice film or game film?
Game film.
Rebuild or reload?
Rebuild.
Tough love. Sorry, Coach Carruthers. Rebuild. I read that one already. Tough love or quiet accountability?
Tough love.
Early mornings or late nights?
Late nights.
Veteran assistant or young and hungry assistant?
Young and hungry.
Win ugly or lose learning?
Lose learning.
Plan everything or kind of just trust the flow?
Plan everything.
Okay, here we go. This is agree, disagree.
Okay.
Coaches, I already know the answer to this one because we kind of touched on it. Coaches are expected to be everything to everyone.
I agree with the statement. I disagree with the statement being implemented.
The concept. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. You can't out-scheme poor culture.
True.
Confidence matters more than talent.
True.
Faith makes you a better leader.
True.
Most burnout is preventable.
True.
New coaches are underprepared.
True.
Administration determines longevity.
True.
Okay. Now this is word association. So I'm going to give you a word and then first thing that pops to mind. Program building.
Hard.
Yes. Title I.
Gonna be like a purpose.
Okay. Faith.
Everything.
Pressure.
Easy.
Legacy.
Ooh, that one's hard. Servant.
Mentorship.
Necessary.
Winning.
Unnecessary.
Okay, very good. Very good. I like how we went like pressure. You were like easy. Like we eat pressure for lunch every day. That was good stuff. All right, Coach. Thank you for playing that little game with me.
Yeah.
Just a little rapid fire type deal. Okay, Coach, this brings us into crunch time, which means this is the last 5 minutes of the episode. 5 minutes works like this. 5 minutes. Okay. Crunch time works like this. We go 3, 2, 1. The 3 is 3 in the key. 3 things that all athletic professionals need. The 2 is 2 shots. 2 of the toughest challenges or foulest things you've experienced. And then we ended with and 1. So let's go ahead and start here with 3 in the key. Coach, what are 3 things that all athletic professionals need?
1, I'm going to say a faith of some sort, because the job is challenging, because you will be tried every day. And if you're not rooted in a faith and know that this is the calling that is placed upon you, then you're going to struggle. The job is going to take you out. So I think that you need a faith and an understanding. It's going to ground you. It's going to humble you. And it's also going to encourage and motivate you when you're down. And so that's important. The second thing would be a supportive family or support system. For me personally, my husband coaches as well. He's a basketball coach. And, during my season, he's all in. He's getting the kids around. He's, making dinner. He understands the grind, because when my season's over and his starts, he's in the grind. And so the job is hard, but the job is fulfilling. And someone who understands that you're walking in your purpose and supports you in that is important. Also, a village of people around you that can help you, especially if you have kids or, things that you're responsible for outside of school in your household. And so having a supportive family and support system, I think, is just vital if you're going to be successful and you're going to have longevity in this career. And then the third thing I would say would be a supportive admin, whether that is at the district level or the campus level, academic or athletic. When you feel supported, you are going to get what you need. You're going to get the boost that you need. You're going to get the time that you need if you need it. And so when your admin supports you, the saying, what's the saying? That people don't leave jobs or companies, people leave people. And that's the thing. So if you are trying to keep coaches as an admin, figure out how you can support them from the smallest program to the least successful program to the most successful program and everything in between. And also the support from community, the staff, those parents, those things are important. And I think that those things will keep coaches coaching for an extended period of time in one place.
That is really, really good and very, very true. People tend to leave people, not jobs. All right. This brings us to two shots. So Coach, share with us two of the most difficult or foul things that you have experienced in the profession.
I would say number one would definitely be just the way the club system, club volleyball is built. When you work in a Title I school, low income school, it's difficult to close the gap when you're competing against kids that are playing 365, that have personal trainers, that have private lessons. They're playing hundreds of games outside of the UIL season. That definitely comes with a lot of challenges. No challenge that we can't face, but it's a challenge that I wish wasn't as big and is growing the gap like it is. And then the second challenge, I would have to say volleyball at a school where you are not super successful, you tend not to get a staff that is knowledgeable. So not only are you struggling with trying to catch your kids up, a lot of times you end up coaching your coaches and teaching them the sport. And I know that's a part of coaching. We have coaches that are second sport coaches. In volleyball, you have it significantly more than you have it in other sports. So in football, you don't really hire a football coach that doesn't know football. It's almost unheard of. In volleyball, a lot of times throughout my 18 years, I can probably count on one hand the number of coaches that I've had that are super knowledgeable about the sport and passionate about it. And so I think that that's a challenge that we face, is trying to get knowledgeable coaches into smaller sports, into women's sports, and spend the same time and effort and resources finding those coaches for those sports as we do in some of the larger, more significant male-dominated sports.
So, yeah. Just as I coached young women, right? And
Yeah.
I get it,
Yes.
and it's like,
We do too.
like I got a coach that I want to get, but we need a football coach first. So I
Right.
can't get the coach that I want to get because we need this football coach. Before we go to and one, I want to really touch here. I want to touch on the money sport. Volleyball is a money sport.
Yes.
Basketball is a money sport.
Absolutely.
Baseball is a money sport. So I'm looking at this. You read an article that pointed out how the club structure in the United States is part of the reason we struggle internationally. So
Yes.
I have a TikTok, and I get on my TikTok and I talk basketball, right? So USA Basketball had some recommendations. And when I tell you, I'm over here arguing with these people about youth basketball, right? Like, people really want little Gerald and little Jackie at 8 years old to play on the same basket that Giannis is playing on.
Yeah.
Right. And I think part of that is because of this club structure, because soccer is a money sport, right? So baseball is a money sport. So what are we losing athletically and morally when access to these sports depends on a family's income?
I think you're losing so much talent. And I think I'm not going to say we don't realize it. We do realize it. We don't care, because it's not about the sport. It's not about growing the sport. It's about growing people's pockets. I see my husband coaches basketball, and he'll come in like, I'm going to go watch my kids play, and it's $50 to get in. What are we doing? Same thing for club volleyball. It's $8,000 to play on a club team. That is a significant amount of money for anyone, right? But for our kids that are low income, free and reduced lunch, they'll be full financial aid students. You totally take them out of the equation, right? And so I don't think it is the only way to get to college, but I think they have made it very difficult to get there otherwise. And so like I tell kids all the time, I can't tell you the last time I saw a volleyball coach in a high school gym. It's not like football, right? I can go to an arena and I can watch 500 teams play on a weekend. Why would I go just watch 2? And so, you have this, it's become so much about money. I read this, I read a lot about it because I'm always interested in it. And I read this thing that says in 10 years, if you open a club volleyball team, in 10 years, you're a millionaire. And I'm like, wow. And most of these people aren't even volleyball coaches. They see the potential to make money and then they make money. But if you're telling a kid, hey, you can't play because you can't afford it. Are we there for kids and are we there for the sport? You're trying to like a kid that has talent, that is athletic, that is coachable, that is hardworking, that wants to play, that has a passion. But because you can't pay $8,000, I will let Susan over here, who's half as athletic, who's half as talented, who's half as coachable, I will let her play because her parents can afford for her to play. And you think about how many times that happens. There's tons of talent that never even gets to walk its purpose and to be able to learn the sport or be good because my parents aren't over here at some Fortune 500 company. I mean, it happens and I've seen it year after year after year. This year we have like 10 of our kids in our program playing club. It's crazy, right? They're all playing for the most part on a metro team, which is a team that some clubs have created. It's more affordable. They only play local tournaments, right? And I've reached out to a local club director and she's working with our kids and she's letting them do different things to like raise money. If it's about kids, then do that. I understand you have a business to run, but give our kids a way in. And, and she's done that. She's what do I need to do? One of my kids is coaching one of the little bitty tiny teams to help offset the cost. Like she keeps giving me all these ways. And I was like, so when you have someone like that who has a heart for kids, who sees talent and potential and wants the game to grow, you don't care who's growing it. Now it's gotten to the point where we only care if you can pay for it to grow. And the article I read the other day said we can't compete internationally because only 30% of our talent pool is being tapped. 30%. And you go overseas and you have free clinics, free academies. They're letting these girls come in and they're training all these girls that have potential that want to learn. And we won't even let you in the door if you can't pay $50 for a tryout fee. Or you didn't come to the clinic on Sundays for the 6 weeks leading up to tryouts and you didn't pay $25 every Sunday for a clinic. What are we doing?
Yeah. I'm trying to swallow my rant.
Yes.
Because so number one, capitalism is good for what you want. It's bad for what you need.
Yeah.
Right. We're pricing kids out of the sport. Right. So if you think of, this is one of the arguments I had on my TikTok with these people the other day. If you think of the top 4 men's basketball players in the world, none of them are American. When you look at the top prospects in the women's game, increasingly, we're starting to see foreign women. Dominique Malonga, she plays for the Seattle Storm. Oh my goodness. That young lady is 18 years old. And when she gets it, it's lights out. The league is in trouble, right? And then we also have to talk about policy, right? Because I think policy also creates some of these things that are happening. And then you haven't seen a coach in your gym. Well, it's the same thing in basketball. They're not coming to the gyms. And I do believe So there's the recruiting pipeline that happens in football.
Yeah.
That same thing needs to happen in the other sports. Now, I will say that the state of Texas for basketball has added the TABC shootouts.
Yes.
Right. So in June, they have the boys and the girls, and it is a great event. Right. It's a great event. But you also have, college coaches. I get it. Well, I can go see everybody here versus having to do here. It impacts recruiting budgets, right? It impacts recruiting budgets. So I really, really understand that. But, college coaches, you have a say in this, because the packets that they pay for to go to these recruiting events, they'll pay $700 for the information for every kid that's at the tournament, right? If college coaches would say, and this is me on my rant, I'm not a college coach, but if they would just say, like, you know what, we're not doing that, right? Listen, in the state of Texas, the Texas High School Coaches Association is powerful.
Yes.
The state of Texas could make it to where, you know what, you want to recruit Texas kids, this is how you're going to do it. So, which again is a policy point. But let me get off that, because that's not what we're here for. We are not here to hear me rant. Okay, Coach, this has been outstanding. So this brings us to the very last thing in this podcast. We call this and one. So what is one thing that you want to share with our watchers and listeners before we get out of here?
I would tell them that to remember that you have a purpose, and that purpose does not fit in a perfect box, that there will be days where you will struggle. There are days where you will question if you're doing the right thing in the right place at the right time in your life. And I think that goes back to why faith is so important, so that you have something to ground you and help you reflect and to help you figure out during those moments when things get tough. But on the flip side of that coin, I want to encourage you that the work that you do matters. Every day when you go home and you feel like you gave everything and you didn't do enough, trust me, you did. You did more than enough. That because the kid didn't look you in the eye or didn't perform exactly how you wanted them to, or didn't score a certain way on a test, you did everything that you could. Come in with the right intention, come in with the right mindset, do everything that you can. And when you walk out, you need to be proud of that. And I don't think we're proud enough. We don't tell ourselves good job enough. We don't see the work that we're doing enough, because it's a job where you don't see the fruits of your labor sometimes for years. So stick it out, stay positive, take care of yourself, take care of your family. You need that support and that foundation. You cannot neglect home and expect it to support the passion and the calling that you have. And then just keep grinding. It's tough, it's hard, but everything worth winning, everything worth getting is hard and it's tough, and you can do it. So stick with it.
Hang in there. Coach, I'm going to get us out of here, but hang back with me for a second once I end the recording. Listen, those of you who joined us tonight, thank you for joining us here in the Coaches Co-op. Big thanks to Coach Melissa Walker for sharing her journey and her wisdom. Dropped a lot of gems. If you're walking away with new insight or new energy for yourself, for your program, then we did our job tonight. If you enjoyed this conversation, please hit the like button, follow, subscribe to our channel on YouTube. It's Podcast with Prejean for more insights from top athletic professionals like Coach Walker. Leave us a 5-star review. If you are watching on Spotify or listening on iTunes, your ratings help other coaches find us here in the co-op. Share this show with a coach who needs to hear this wisdom. Help us grow the Coaches Co-op community, where coaches do what most people can't. And as I always say, stay ready so you don't have to get ready. We'll see you next time in the co-op. For Coach Melissa Walker, I'm Michael Prejean, better known as Coach P. Y'all be easy.